Leading into the surgery, there was one day where I'd woken up very early in the morning and I had to use the restroom. I'd rolled and I was sitting there at the edge of my bed and I was just like, almost in tears. And then I put my left leg down to step and there was just nothing.
I think it comes down to a similar aspect to what the medical field prescribes, which is a Band-Aid to help relieve your symptoms instead of addressing the root issue.
The whole thing exploded. I have an MRI picture of my MRI where you can see the vertebrae and you see the discs going all the way down my spine. And then there's a white line that runs right along it. And it goes all the way down basically to your tailbone. And they told me that that's my spinal cord. I'm telling every single one of you out there, you have so much more power than you think you do. You need to stop giving yourself these excuses and this bullshit that you're feeding yourself, because you are so much more capable than anything you have any idea about.
Hello and welcome to the Harmonized Podcast, where we learn about the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit. Today we're joined by a good friend of mine, Apollo Armendariz, who has lost over 100 pounds on his journey. And today we're going to be talking about his transformation journey, as well as what it's like being a single man in today's society. And if you get some value from this podcast, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share this video to help us reach a larger audience. Without further ado, welcome, Apollo.
Thank you so much, Jared. I'm very, very excited to be here today.
Hey, man. My pleasure. It's an honor to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
Why don't we start off with your transformation, bro? 100 pounds, that's insane.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive deep into that and what key factors led up to it and how it's changed your life.
Indeed, man. So, I grew up as a very skinny kid for most of my life. That tended to just kind of change over time to where, especially when I got into high school, I had one of my personal heroes. For those of you who don't know, I'm a musician. And one of my heroes actually ended up kissing a student. And he was like my hero. Like he was my full-time big hero.
In high school?
Yeah, in high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he was the one who got me into music in the first place. And so after learning about that and dealing with that, I really started to eat quite a bit, and I started to just deteriorate, over time a little bit in high school. And then by the time I got to college, I was probably weighing close to probably about 200 pounds. I was about 6 foot at the time. And then throughout college, I started college in July of 2019 initially. And after I had started college, I only had about a semester and a half before, the big COVID happened. So that definitely threw a wrench into things. And that was particularly hard because as COVID went on, I don't think a lot of people realized that, all of us college kids, we were all very poor, but most of the time you have jobs. Well, during COVID, we were all very poor and none of us had jobs.
Wow.
So because of that, it was extremely, extremely hard to just do anything. And so how I would deal with that is I would deal with it with food. And so after a while, I would just eat and eat and eat and eat. And I didn't care about, how I looked or how I felt. And I ran into a lot of those problems that a lot of people have where you don't realize that it's not normal to feel like crap all the time. Yeah. And that just had become so normal to me. And especially when you're kind of on that dissension period, you lose a lot of faith in yourself. And you just, you just look at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, this is not who I should be. This is not who I want to be. And that was a very difficult lesson to learn. Everything kind of came together when I was about 21. There was a lot of different things that happened in my life at that time, but one of the big things was just my weight. I got to about 250 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm 6'1", but my frame is not like that. I have more of a slimmer athletic taper. And so because of that, I don't have huge muscle bellies or anything like that. And so my body is designed to be more thin and more fit. And so my body was not made to carry that kind of weight. And I could definitely feel it as I started. And so a lot of things happened in about, it would have been May of 2020. 2022. And that's when I had first started my fitness journey. And I just woke up one morning and I just was like, this is enough. I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
And I knew I had to make some radical changes, especially with how I approached food. And especially I was not getting like any exercise pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, that was when, Goggins and specifically guys like Tate and stuff would be very prominent, in my algorithms. And I would see them saying like, go to the gym. You've got to, like you can do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a message that I kind of had never heard put in that kind of way before.
Yeah.
Especially from like a public sphere.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially for growing up as a young man now, I think that it's quite difficult because especially the American, or I would say like the Western first world culture it's very feminine,
Oh, 100%.
And because of that, it just like you feel like you want to be a man, you want to do certain things and you want to act a certain way. And just every single corner you turn, it's the girls and the guys telling you. It's my parents telling me. It's it's my mentors and stuff, which I don't blame them for. But it's just at that point in my life as a young man, it's just that's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's where you're hearing the right voices on the internet. That's like, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and they gave me hope.
So you started seeing these prominent figures online and they're sharing this message that you hadn't heard before, and it resonated.
Very much so. And it resonated because it built me up in a way that I think in the modern culture that I don't think that we build men up in the ways that men need to be built up.
1,000%. They're feminizing us on purpose.
In 100%. And I don't think a lot of people understand. This is one of my personal gripes with things like therapy. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't believe that there's not a time and place to talk through things or to maybe get a second opinion on something. But I think you sitting there and like just letting out everything that that you've held in like that, I think for men is especially dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it might be different for other people, but I know particularly for myself, when I start talking about things that I'm upset or I'm angry about, I tend to get more upset and more angry about them.
1,000%.
And for me, that's not really, it doesn't help solve the problem. It usually just makes me focus on what's making me mad.
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, therapy, I feel like that's another one of these feminine things where they're trying to feminize the world. Mm-hmm. Specifically men, you need to go to therapy. I'm like, Like you said, you're talking about the problems, you're reliving it, you're going through those emotions again. Don't get me wrong, there's a time when we need to let our emotions go. Mm-hmm. But I don't know about doing it with a therapist. Mm-hmm. Because, man, they don't understand your life story, what you've been through. You can tell them the story, but also you're telling them with emotions. Mm-hmm. And then they have a biased perspective of what you've been through. And I don't think they always give the best advice. Maybe there are some cases where they help, but I don't think men should go to therapy.
Well, I think the approach that most therapists take is it's making you feel okay. Yeah. They want you to feel like you're okay. Mm-hmm. And the best way that I heard this is that men don't really want to just feel okay. Yeah. Men want to feel like they are powerful and like they have something in them that's going to push them to not be defeated by this thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of ways, I think going to therapy and like, I think in some ways you kind of cave to whatever the issue is. And I think that in a lot of ways, I just think it's generally detrimental to specifically men. I don't really know how it affects women because I think women actually need to talk through those things. And I think that that's why generally people push therapy. But I think that if there was therapy for men, I think it should look far different than it is being portrayed now.
Yeah, 100%. Are you saying men and women are different?
I know. This is a crazy controversial topic right now, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it comes down to a similar aspect to what the medical field prescribes, which is a Band-Aid to help relieve your symptoms instead of addressing the root issue. And I think therapy does the same thing.
I would agree, because I think that therapy is just more so you talking through the emotions and kind of trying to understand what you're feeling. But you're not saying like, look, this is what caused this, so this is why I need to change XYZ.
Yeah.
You know,
and we're logical creatures.
We are very logical creatures, and that's why I think therapy is particularly hard for men.
Yeah.
I heard when you had Rose on recently, and she was talking about how she's like, I think men need to be a little bit more open and vulnerable in some of those situations. And I would agree, if you're maybe doing like a personal conversation, then I would agree that you need to be a little bit more open to receiving that. But I also don't, and I don't know how you feel about this, I also don't just like opening up that much to people that I really don't know. You know?
Not at all.
Yeah. even if they're well trained, it's you know.
Even if I do know them, like my girlfriend, I was talking to a girl recently, and she's like, I want you to be able to open up to me and like cry in front of me. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I'm she's like, well, why can't we have this same level of openness? I'm like, well, first of all, if you see me cry, you're going to get the ick.
Oh, yeah. And every girl gets the ick.
Yeah. So it's like, that's not going to happen. Second of all, that's not going to fix anything. And yeah, this is girl logic versus, or female emotion versus male logic. Mm-hmm. We're different, and we handle things different. We think differently. We feel things differently. Mm-hmm. And that's not talked about enough. It's equality or this garbage that's forced down our throats. And yeah.
No, it is. And it's very, very scary, I think, especially for somebody who grew up in this kind of age where this was a lot more normal than it was. So, cause like for my parents, you know, like I tried to explain to my dad recently, we were talking about dating, and I was telling my dad, I was like, Dad, I said, a lot of these girls, I'm just completely not interested in. And he asked me, he was like, well, you know, aren't there some good girls out there? And I just said, well, you know, Dad, I said, when you were growing up and when like you met my mom back in the 80s, it's not that there wasn't, you know, like bad people out there, or there wasn't hoes, or there wasn't things like that. But the main thing is that you could find a very good girl who was either a virgin or at least very low body count. Maybe she had one or two boyfriends before you. And, you know, and there wasn't this moral corruption of people's soul that we just see is so unbelievably widespread today.
Yeah.
And that's really, really just, I don't know why it is like that exactly, but it's certainly a humongous problem that is really ripping people apart. Oh yeah.
Instagram.
Man, Instagram I think has ruined people's perceptions of the world more than anything.
Yeah. I think that has butchered the dating market.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Your dad back in the day, I don't know where he grew up, maybe a small town. Mm-hmm. A girl in his town that's a 10 is a 10 in his town. Mm-hmm. And she knows it, but also like there's guys in the town that have a chance with her. Mm-hmm. Now, a girl in a small town that's a 10 knows she's a 10, and she knows she has access to everyone on the internet.
Yeah.
And now that completely changes the game, because now the local guys don't stand a chance. Mm-hmm. And they are going to have to lower their levels of expectation, which sucks, but it's the truth. I mean, like, I don't even think I want a 10 just because of what she's been through. We're talking about body counts here. Mm-hmm. If she's a 10 and she knows it, she's going to be, well, okay, we're talking 10. I'm talking 10 looks in this situation.
Yeah, of course.
Then she's going to be out and about taking advantage of her value.
Yeah.
And not all of them, but in most cases, these super attractive girls, they're with guys more than the others.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not more than the others, but a lot.
Indeed. And, you know, and I know that we're all on our journeys and we're all trying to get better. And I know we all say like, well, I would never do that. I can't say, to be honest, like if I was a girl and I was a 10, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And especially me going through my fitness transformation, it's really shocking to me how differently people treat you when you're attractive and when you're not.
Wow.
That was a really...
Tell me about that.
Well, actually, I was actually talking about this recently where, man, I tried to talk to girls, especially all the way through, you know, college and stuff. And I really had almost no success. And it's not because I maybe wasn't interesting or something, but it was just because I just simply was not very attractive, especially physically. And I didn't really realize that. Like my mom used to tell me when I was younger, she's like, "You're actually very handsome," and I used to be like, "You're lying." And I used to believe that because when you have that much fat, especially on like your face, it just takes away all your facial features, and you just look like this big bloated mess,
a blob.
Yeah. And so, you know, but then when I actually started to lose weight and like I could see like my jawline and I could start to see like my actual face, I was like, wow. This is really this is a profound difference.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, the harsh reality is that to most girls, most men are invisible to them. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just another dude, like, well, whatever. So if you're out of shape, you have even less of a chance.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It is paramount for us men to be in the best shape possible, mentally, physically, spiritually, to even have a chance with a good woman. And that is the reality, because the gates have been opened through the internet. They have access to so many. Why are they going to settle for some fat bum?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they definitely won't. And
No.
I think, especially as a young man, I think that life is very, I would say like unforgiving, like,
oh, yeah.
like you know, if you make a mistake or whatever, like you have to sit there with the full weight of the consequences, and there's no like backing out.
1,000%.
And
having a kid at 15.
Man, tell me about that,
bro.
I couldn't imagine having a kid now.
Dude, talk about consequences.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was wild, man. It's definitely the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, and a very pivotal point in my journey. But man, at the time I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm 15 years old. I got a girl pregnant. I thought my life was over. I'm a disappointment to my family, to my community. Like, I just felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And I did the only thing I could do is just take it one step at a time and try to figure this thing out. And man, it has been a journey, bro. Journey. But it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me, but it ended up being my greatest blessing.
Man, isn't it crazy how God works?
Always, man. Mysterious ways.
Indeed. And especially in my fitness journey, I think my version of that was, it was very people were very impressed that I lost the amount of weight that I did. But what was even crazier, and what I think is more of a testament to just, I think, God's power in my life, is I lost all that weight with a extremely debilitating injury. I had, ever since I was about 18 years old, I had some pretty severe lower back pain that for a long time I could not figure out what it was. I went and got an x-ray at like a chiropractor, and they just told me, oh, you have some scoliosis. So you have some curves in your spine.
Yep.
So my spine kind of looks like an upside down question mark. So that was a little weird, and it made me like kind of off balance, and it kind of messes up my hips and my pelvis a little bit.
Your alignment.
Yeah, my alignment. It really messed that up, and I didn't really notice. And on the x-ray, I had asked the chiropractor, I was like, was this like injury related? And he just told me, he said, no. He's like, it's actually not, because there's no scar tissue around the whole thing. He was like, you were born this way, He was like, you were born with a crooked back. He was like, and I think you're starting to feel the effects of it now, only because you're growing pretty quickly. And because of that, he's like, I think that it's just, you got set up wrong, and now you're really starting to feel the effects of that.
Let's talk about this real quick, because I had something similar, which was flat feet.
Yeah.
And same thing, doctor told me I was born with it, and here's some orthotics that are going to help balance you out.
And how much did those orthotics actually help out?
Bro, I think they make things worse.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a discovery that I've made way later, and that is, you're not born that way.
Really?
Our bodies are born aligned, bro. Like, God didn't make us to have these deformities. Yeah, it's habits that have been developed through the way we're being raised, the lifestyle things that we're doing, and the lack of awareness. And these doctors telling us, hey, you're born this way, born with scoliosis. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I would have maybe disagreed with that back in the day, but now, man, with my feet journey, discovering that I can improve my flat feet and correct it just by a shift of mindset and awareness, it's led me to believe that all these body imbalances, misalignments can be fixed with a shift of mindset. And that sounds weird. Most people are like, bro, what are you talking about? You can fix your flat feet with your mind. Get out of here. But it's true, man.
Oh, 100%.
It starts with the intention, the awareness, and the will to fix it.
Yeah.
And man, it's been a 2-3 year journey of working on my feet, and it's changed everything.
Yeah, man.
Changed everything. Like you said, or the feet are the foundation. So they weren't just flat, they were off.
They were like almost like kind of caving in a little bit.
That, and they were asymmetric. So they weren't just off together, they were off different.
Off separately.
Yeah,
wow.
One of my orthotics was thicker than the other.
Wow.
So because of that, one hip is lower than the other. My shoulder is lower than the other, the neck's compensating, and I'm sure I had scoliosis too.
Yeah.
Because my spine's compensating for all this imbalance.
Yeah.
And man, it has been a journey trying to get it back into alignment, but I can see the progress, and it's eye-opening.
Yeah, man. It really is, because when I had this injury for a long time, for about like 2 years, it was quite painful. And it was, I first I didn't really know what it was. I thought it might be nerves, or it might be a muscle thing or something. And I just kind of sucked it up for a while, and I just kind of kept going. But as I was doing that, and as I was also putting on weight, me putting on that weight, especially because my frame is not built to hold especially that much of a load, it not only pulled my spine more. So my spine curves to my left side. So I'm kind of always leaning like kind of rightwards. And because of that, it just really, it just throws everything off. It throws my hips, my pelvis, my feet. I also have flat feet. I didn't even know that about flat feet, actually.
Dude, we need to talk.
Oh yeah. Right after this, brother, man.
Oh yeah.
So I was really stuck with this pain that was quite severe. And as I got a lot heavier, it got severely worse.
Are we talking like a herniated disc type deal?
So the current theory, because we actually don't know completely 100%. I know at the time when I got my surgery, which would have been not this past May, but the May before that. Yeah.
Holy cow.
I found out that it was ruptured. My disc completely exploded. Like, it wasn't even slipped or just herniated. The whole thing exploded. And I have an MRI picture of my MRI where you can see the vertebrae and you see the discs going all the way down my spine. And then there's a white line that runs right along it. And it goes all the way down basically to your tailbone. And they told me that that's my spinal cord. And on my MRI, you can see my disc is literally cutting through my nerves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That might be where the pain's coming from.
Oh yeah, man. And it was, whoo! And it led to some other problems later, especially in my life. Cause like when I first got into college, like I did the normal, college party thing. And I had fun and stuff, but especially as this pain got worse, and especially as I weighed more and I got myself into some, not so good situations. What just ultimately ended up happening is it just kept ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And I started using alcohol and especially like weed to just completely numb my pain.
Yeah.
Cause I just want to cry most of the days when I get home. You know? And it persisted like this for a while, even once I started my fitness transformation. And that kind of pain, I don't think people understand how painful having nerve pain is. Because people don't understand, I think that's where your pain originates from. Like if you didn't have nerve endings, you wouldn't feel pain. And so, especially because it's hitting me at like the source of, like my entire body. Yeah. It was extremely detrimental. But at the time, when I had decided to lose this weight and change a lot of different things in my life, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking weed, I stopped eating the bad food. And I was really trying to figure out how am I going to lose this weight with this injury? Because
So was that the turning point? The pain was unbearable. You're like, something's got to change.
Something's got to change. It was more, the pain was getting pretty unbearable at that point, but I just knew that I was dealing with it in the complete wrong way. And nice. I was trying to mask these things. Because at that point, I really didn't believe that it was possible for me to ever feel good. Like I would talk with like my ex at that time and I would tell her, I'd be like, look, I might need a cane by the time I'm 30.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary, I might not even be able to walk by the time I'm like 45.
Yeah.
And that's a very scary thing to kind of have looming over you. And because of that, I just knew, I was like, man, come hell or high water, I got to lose this weight. And that's really where kind of the journey started. It started with me initially getting up at about 4:30 most mornings and going on a run, especially around campus. At the time I used to live.
Real quick,
campus.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Was this before or after the surgery?
So this is before the surgery.
Okay.
So at this point I was 21 years old is when I really started to change, when I really started to change a lot of things in my life. And my surgery happened when I was about 23. So for about the first 70 to about 80-ish pounds, I lost over those 2 years, and it was very painstaking. I remember the first morning I went for a run. I ran from the music building at the university, which is right there on University in Espina, and I ran from there just up the hill to the duck pond. And I probably stopped about 15 times and coughed up some really gross looking stuff. So that was an experience. And, and I, especially when you're that big and you're trying to lose that weight, you feel so horrible by like, just like you run for 30 seconds and you're sitting there panting your ass off, just like, and then you just get up and you just try to go as far as you can again. And then, and then you just fall down and you just got to get back up. And I
feel
did
like
that for
some
quite a long
people
time.
give up there.
That's where most people actually give up.
Yeah, it's like, this is a daunting task. How am I going to do this? I can't even run to the duck pond. Yeah. This is impossible.
Yeah.
What made you think you could keep going?
It was really Goggins' story of when I would listen to him, especially on like Rogan and stuff, and I would listen to his podcast where he just talks about his life and how he overcame such demonstrable odds to really become like just a human superhero, man.
Yeah.
And I was so sick of me feeling so powerless and feeling so just empty, and like I just had no faith, I had no courage, I had just almost no like will to live.
Yeah.
And I knew, I was like, man, I think when you have a name like Apollo, you're like, man, I need to live up to that. And I knew that that's not how that story ended for me. And so it was very painstaking, and I'd go on runs in the morning, and then I'd go to the gym. And that was a huge just turning point. And it took a while at first to see kind of any progress. And then I really started looking into the diet because I just thought, man, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really go all the way. And And the diet is just as important as the exercise, and it's just as important as all other aspects of your health.
If not more.
If not more, man.
Yeah, because a lot of my clients and the people that I've worked with, they're like, yeah, send me the workout plan. I'm like, sure. But just to let you know, this is only like 20% of the equation.
Oh, yeah, man.
I think diet is like 80%. From the people that I've worked with, they all build muscle. Mm-hmm. But the people that have the crazy transformations are the people that lock in on the diet.
Yeah, man.
So what led you to realize how important the diet was?
I was seeing a lot of things by specifically, I was looking at a lot of the different scientists that were coming out at the time, especially like the Gary Breccas, the Andrew Hubermans.
Nice.
And then I also, my personal favorite one that I really like is Paul Saladino.
Oh, yeah.
And because I really liked his approach of kind of how we were talking about earlier about, trying to fix things at the root cause.
Yes.
And not trying to mask symptoms. And
Yep.
his whole philosophy on diet and nutrition and lifestyle is that he wants you to have like the highest quality food, and he wants you to he really thinks that most of the medical issues that people run into can be fixed with things like diet and exercise. And I tend to agree.
Amen.
I think that there are some things that you might not be able to completely fix with that. But I think especially overall, like if you have high blood pressure, doing some cardio is going to really help with that, or going in a sauna for a little bit or lifting some weights,
Or developing metabolic flexibility.
Indeed.
Yeah. I love that you brought him up. All three of those guys were pivotal in my journey as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, the root cause. Okay. Initially, I thought all that mattered is calories in, calories out.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe tracking your calories in, calories out, that's going to affect your weight no matter what.
Yes, of course.
The quality of food that you're eating is going to affect how you feel.
Yes.
So, yeah, back in college, I thought I was healthy, bro. I was eating steak, macaroni and cheese, noodles, the boxed noodles, boxed macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
But I had my steak, I had my grains, my veggies, my juice. I thought I was healthy, bro.
Yeah.
But like you said, you don't realize how crappy you feel when you're living that all the time.
Yeah.
And until you feel that better life, I mean, more energy, mental clarity, no brain fog, you don't know what it's like until you experience that.
100%.
So once I started shifting my foods to more quality and focusing on the quality instead of the quantity, that changed everything, bro.
Yeah.
Brain fog, gone.
Yeah.
I lost 10 pounds that I didn't know I had to lose. I was like, bro, I'm in good shape. I'm training jujitsu, lifting weights. I feel good. And the first thing I cut out was actually from Gary Brecca.
Really?
Yeah, he's talking about enriched or fortified grains.
Yes.
I was like, well, what is this? Enriched fortified grains? He's like, this is folic acid. It causes brain fog and bloating. I was like, what? Let me check this out. I go to all my food ingredients, enriched flour, fortified grains. I'm like, let's see what happens if I cut it out. Do a little experiment. Cut it out. I ate steak and potatoes for a month. Lost 10 pounds like that.
Yeah.
Without even trying.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I had 10 pounds to lose. I was like, what the heck? What else am I consuming that's holding me back?
Right.
But it wasn't just the weight. It was the brain fog, dude. I had this clarity that I never felt before. And it was so eye-opening because I didn't know what it was like to have mental clarity because I'm always under this brain fog and digestive issues that's blocking my endocrine and dopamine and all this. And man, it put me on the path.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, it did a similar thing for me too, especially with the brain fog. I mean, especially with me, abusing alcohol and weed, especially for a long time. I mean,
same.
Even just normal, brain fog is a lot. But then when you throw all that into the mix too, like you don't even know what you're doing. Like you're just a zombie, just trying to walk around and just trying to find some food or something, you know?
Hungover, fried.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there too, bro. And a lot of people, they're like, that sober lifestyle seems so boring. It's like, what? But I'm like, man, if you could only feel what it feels like, you'd have a whole different perspective on that. Because a lot of people ask me, like, how do you stay so disciplined? Like, that's how. I'm like, I love how I feel.
Yeah.
I love how I feel, and I know how I used to feel, and I ain't going back.
Yeah, man.
There ain't no way, dude.
No way. No way. And that's what I really got from especially fixing my diet was just, it was just like a brand new door of life that opened, and I had never, ever thought that life could be like that.
Yeah.
You know, in my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that that's why it was so worth it for me to do this. Like, man, I see people, like, especially, you know, like around NMSU, like some of my old professors and like my old friends and colleagues and stuff. And every single time they see me, they're like, dude, you're different. You're more different now, you know, like you lost another 15 pounds here. And then, you know, and now I'm seeing you like 2 months later and now you're down another 10 and, you know, I can see it. And that's a really interesting, that's just a really interesting life experience that I just had never had before.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And it's not just the weight. That's the beauty of it, is all these little wins, they compound. So it's not like linear growth, it's exponential. And each win, yeah, it's going to be real slow at first. But then as you keep stacking these wins, it starts taking off, and you're not just losing weight. We're talking your confidence.
Yeah.
Your aura, like
Dude.
the energy that comes out of you is a whole different level, because you have everything. It all compounds, the mind, body, and spirit, man. And this is another one I've talked to with my clients. With my clients is the spirit.
Yeah.
It starts with the body. For some people, you start cleaning up the body, and then you realize how much your gut health affects your mind. So you start improving your gut health. Well, now you have this mental clarity. You have this less brain fog. That allows you to tap into your spirit better.
Yes.
Because how are you going to tap into your spirit when you've got all this brain fog and you're high, you're drunk, like you're disconnected from your spirit.
Yeah.
So one of the first ways to reconnect is to address your gut health. That's like, what? How does your gut have anything to do with your spirit? Believe me, bro, it's connected in more ways than we know.
Well, it's even biblical too. I mean, you know, they talk about, you know, trusting your gut, you know, in the Bible, and especially I think that comes from, you know, they say in a lot of ways, like, we have one brain here, but our second brain's right here. And that is 100% true, especially when I started dieting, not only just doing the calorie restriction and, you know, getting more protein, focusing on my macros and stuff, but then also just trying to get better quality food too. And I couldn't do like the whole Paul Saladino thing because, you know, I was a broke college student. Yeah. But I would just do what I could, you know, at the time.
Which was what?
So for a lot of it, I noticed that me especially eating a lot of, I kind of did what Huberman really suggests, where he's just like, look, just stick to like meat, eggs, fish, fruits, veggies. Just stick to that. He was like, just stick to that. If you can get organic, try to do organic. But if you can't, you know, just do the best that you can. Perfect. And so that's just kind of where I started. I just started with just like getting ground beef and chicken and mostly eating that and with some eggs and then just having, you know, bananas. And for me, it was mostly just bananas and strawberries, you know, and I just really stuck with that for a long time because for me, it just worked. You know, I'm one of those people that I like to overindulge. Like when it's time to work, it's really time to lock in and work. And when it's time to have fun, you know, I really like to have a lot of fun. And so that's kind of how my approach was to food. And so when I first started out, my approach was just obviously eating less over time, you know, and it was just trying to cut it down. But especially as I started to feel so much better, I noticed that, like, when I would eat bad food, man, it just would wipe me out like nothing I had ever been hit with before.
1,000%.
And it's crazy that it does do that, because you're like, man, I used to eat this every single day.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Crazy.
And people just, they really don't understand that that's such a not normal thing.
Yeah.
You know,
because that's what they feel every day. It is normal.
Mm-hmm. And I especially, you know, you were talking about the spiritual link, especially with food and stuff. And I think in a lot of ways, fasting is a very, very good way to get your spirit, and especially to help fix your gut too. Fasting is one of the best things you can do for your gut. And I've never, it was funny. My dad told me this when I was a kid. He was like, you don't really know anybody until like that you don't even really know yourself until you're in like a 2-day fast.
Whoa.
And you're just sitting there like, you know, like I have this hunger, and you just have to sit there and you just have to really tap into God, you know, and just be like, God, give me the strength. And, you know, and I mean, and the Bible even talks about that, you know, there's that verse that says, you know, this type only leaves by prayer and fasting. And he's talking about demons, you know?
Yep.
And so I think that there's more there than we are being led to see.
No doubt. Hey, that's really good of your dad, dude. A lot of these older generations, they don't know about fasting. They're like, fasting, what is that? I know my dad, same thing. He's like, he was having some gut issues. And I was like, hey, like some constipation issues. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you need to fast.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to the bathroom, you're just stacking food on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't any good. Like,
yeah.
where's it going? He's like, fast. He's like, well, that kind of makes sense. But he ended up fasting, and he ended up having surgery.
Yeah.
But he was able to go into surgery because he was in a fasted state. So they were able to see him right then and there. So I ended up lucking out. But since then, I was like, hey, you should do a fast. He's like, why? I'm like, hey.
You're like, come on, man. You got to connect it to your ancestral self, you know?
Yeah, dude. Well, like you said, ancestral self. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, they didn't have waffles and pancakes in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
They had to go hunt and gather their food. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I'm not a huge believer in breakfast, but also I think it's best to be flexible. Uh-huh. Sometimes I'll eat a big meal in the morning. Sometimes I'll skip breakfast. And that's one of the beauties of developing metabolic flexibility is I don't need food to function.
Man, isn't that crazy that
crazy.
People don't know that?
Yeah.
It's like when I would, you know, do like, cause I would just do some like 1, 2, and then I eventually did like a 3-day fast. And it's really, really crazy because you realize you're like, man, I really don't need that much food.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I could even like, you know, and especially what you were talking about with the metabolic flexibility, especially when you get into much better shape, you notice that, you know, that like you can do what you were talking about. Like if I go to like an airport and I just know that there's nothing good to eat.
Absolutely.
Like I'm fine with just being hungry for however long,
yes.
You know, and
exactly.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me like I used to, you know, like you think about, especially here in the first world, you're like, man,
it's 12 o'clock. I got to eat.
Right. Like, dude, how many people haven't even gone 12 hours without eating?
Man,
you know?
That's huge, bro.
Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you. I've done a 3-day fast as well. And on my second day, bro, I usually have a crazy amount of energy.
Really?
Yeah. Like weird amount. And I think this is like part of our survival instincts. Like back in the day, you haven't had food for a day. This is like pivotal. You're going to die if you don't go get something right now. So that's where your body goes into hyperactive mode. Like it's time to go harvest.
Yeah.
And I felt that, bro. I went to jiu-jitsu and I'm like, dude, I've got more energy than ever.
Right.
And that was eye-opening to me as well. It's like, okay, we don't need food for energy. There's not not directly, you know? Like obviously we need food to survive, but it's not like you need a meal before you do this activity so you have energy. Because a lot of people think that as well. And I've noticed this snowboarding as well. my brother and cousins and friends, they'll go get some like greasy food for breakfast first thing in the morning. Then we're on the mountain and they're all like, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm like, well, you guys should have fasted. And I'm feeling great right now. Then you go to the cafeteria and you get the grains and all the stuff that causes the bloating. Then you feel like crap for the second half of the day. And I'm like, man, I'm feeling good here with my burger patty and bacon.
Man, that's crazy. You know, I noticed that especially too, because like when I go like play with different bands and stuff, I always don't like to eat right before I play, because if I eat right before I play, you can just feel it.
Yep.
Especially too as a musician, because you use your abdominals a lot, and you know, you're just breathing in and then you're using your abdominals to basically push all of the air out of you.
Yes. And
so when you do that, there's actually been like one or two times where like I almost had to like yak like on stage, you know, because the force of me doing that is just like pushing that food up.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that you mentioned that. That's also been a pivotal discovery on my journey, is diaphragmatic breathing. And I know you got to really control that as a musician, especially an air musician.
Yes.
So, yeah. Is that what led you to discover diaphragmatic breathing, was playing instruments?
Yes. In fact, I actually learned most of my breathing kind of techniques and stuff from actually a vocalist.
Okay.
And they would talk about specifically how you need to think of your body as like a resonator. And they actually talk about, and this is actually quite interesting, and I kind of wanted to look into this more, especially for like worship, that when you like sing or you're like in the audience of some kind of performance, that your body actually starts to resonate some of the different notes and frequencies as its own like entity almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, resonating frequencies.
Yes. And I think that is especially, I think that you can feel that most, especially in church. Because in, you know, like when you're singing your hymns or your worship songs, you know, everybody is tapping into the same words, the same, you know, the same lyrics, the same frequencies. And so when you become that, like your body itself becomes like an instrument of the larger ensemble.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting. And I don't know, you said you saw the last episode with Isaac. I recently went to a Protestant church for the first time, and I thought the worship was a little weird. I ain't gonna lie. It's just, I was born and raised Catholic, so I wasn't used to that type of worship.
Yeah. I
had a whole different idea of worship, but you saying that gives me a whole new perspective to it.
Well, and you know what's actually, this is actually quite interesting. When I was growing up, especially like as a musician, a lot of the worship music, especially in the church, sometimes is a little boring to listen to, like as a musician. And I know some people are like, it's boring. It's not necessarily that it's boring. It's that a lot of that kind of music is
simple.
It's supposed to be simple, and I never understood why, but it's simple because they want people who are not versed in music at all to be able to sing very easily along, sense. So that we're all a part of this thing together.
The communal aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes way more sense. And I've felt that in like a yoga atmosphere.
Okay.
Like I've done yoga at home. And then I've done it in a studio with other people, and you can feel the shared energy. And I think there's something to that. And you're definitely going to feel that singing as well in church during a worship ceremony. And yeah, that communal aspect, there's definitely something there, bro. The shared energy, because we are all energy. We're all vibrating frequencies, and we're all emitting this energy. And when we're all doing it together, there's something magical there.
It really is. And it's, and like I said, it was kind of interesting because it made me really rethink like worship music. Cause like I said, like, especially when I was in college and I was, you know, studying a bunch of different, you know, composers and stuff. And, you know, you're looking at all this very intricate, you know, all these, very just intricate placements of just notes and how, how's the harmony working and how did they write this and how are the parts trading off, like when you start to kind of see those things and you see the complexity of music, I started to just dislike the fact that music was so simple, because I'd just be there and I'm just like, okay, we're here at the 5, then we go to the 4, and then we go to the 5, and then 1. Like it kind of becomes predictable, and it made me really feel a big disconnect, especially like when I would go to church, because I would just kind of sit there and I'd just be like, yeah, well, it's not that entertaining,
Yeah.
But now that I look at it, I'm like, no, that's the point, is that it's supposed to be, it's
not
free for all
entertainment.
it's not entertainment. It's worship.
Yeah.
And worship, I think is like I think it's a practice that you can do obviously by yourself, but I think amongst other people, I think that it has so much more power than by itself.
I can see that. I can see that. Let's go back to the diaphragmatic breathing. You said our bodies are resonators.
Yes.
How does that lead into the diaphragm?
Into the diaphragm. So what they were basically talking about, and how I learned from this vocalist about how to breathe, is she said basically, I guess in the way that they think about it in terms of vocal, is that they're like, okay, you have your vocal box, right? And what you're actually trying to do is that you start to understand that music is not like air. Like it's not you going, it's your vocal cords resonating at this frequency. Now, if you have very tight muscles, or if you're very constricted, like especially in like your stance, or if you're kind of like this and you're kind of shy and stuff, it blocks the rest of your body from basically resonating. And also it impacts how well you can use that air. So for example, me as a trumpet player, I have to take in very big breaths and I have to compress air at very high speeds. So like I have to be able to compress that air, and I'm using my core. And I have to make sure that my core is firm enough to where I can get that compression of air, but it's not so tight to where everything's just kind of like gridlocked. And I have to work on like posture a lot, especially like I have to think, rolling back my shoulders. I have to kind of think, getting my chest open, kind of leaning back a little bit and not being so forward, like on the tips of my toes and stuff. And so, and you would think like that stuff doesn't really affect music at all. It's crazy how much it affects it, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
Oh, I totally believe that, man. And what led me to discover it was reading a book, a jiu-jitsu book actually, is like one of the greatest legends in jiu-jitsu, Rickson Gracie.
Wow.
He wrote his autobiography. This guy has a record of 400 wins, 0 losses. Yeah, so I was like,
that's one dangerous dude, man.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to read his autobiography, see what he's all about. But you know what he named his autobiography?
What?
Breathe. So I thought that was super interesting. But one of the most important concepts through the whole book is the power of the breath. And I started to see it in so many more things after that. But that was what first put me onto it. And I realized I'd been breathing wrong my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, on my inhale, my stomach was compressing. My abs were squeezing in during my inhale.
Oh, whoa.
Which was blocking off my intake.
Yeah, of course.
So then he's like, you need to let your belly expand to allow your lungs to fill up like balloons.
Yeah.
And he even does this video demonstration where he does a breath in with just his chest, and then he fills up a balloon with it. It's like this big. And then he's like, all right, now with the belly. And then he fills up the balloon even way more. Bigger. So I was like, oh, there's something to that. And then the breath, man, you can recover quicker. You can calm yourself down, control your emotions. And there's so much you can do with the breath.
Indeed, man. And especially like as a musician too, it's kind of funny because people don't think of playing a musical instrument as being very physically taxing. But like I said, when you're taking in these big breaths and then you're basically forcing all the air out and then you're just taking another big breath, like, just go do that for about 30 seconds, you're going to be lightheaded. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so, and I do gigs where I play for like 4 hours, which, like I have to be careful sometimes because I get lightheaded on stage.
Yeah.
And I think there's only been one time where I actually passed out in a performance because like I was holding some big high note at the end, and then I just kissed it off, and I just was like, oh, and then I just went back.
Oh wow, dang.
So no, the breath is extremely important, and especially like even as a musician, I didn't realize how much more air that you can fill up your body if you really fill yourself up and really think of yourself as one of my professors, he told me to think of yourself like a helium tank, and so he said when you breathe in, think of like you creating this big tank, and then as soon as you get to the point where you stop breathing in, then just think of that tank as it's just solid iron, and then you're just you're just hitting the tap, just to get that compressed air out.
Because if you let all your air out, you're done for. You can't play a note.
Oh yeah, and that's a big problem, especially like in like when I play in bands, especially like sometimes you just don't. Sometimes the music is so like you're just playing, and sometimes you can't get a full breath, so you kind of have to take these these just little like sips, and sometimes to get through really long phrases in music. And that used to happen to me a lot more, where I would really run out of breath, but after really focusing on my breath and really getting my body to be like basically just be like the resonator for my horn, then that's when I really learned that I did not have to use that much air, and I didn't have to tax myself nearly as much as I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool, bro. I play guitar and I want to learn to sing.
Yeah.
And learn to use my body more. Cause I mean, like I use my hands, but I feel like there's a different connection to the music when it's coming from within. Mm-hmm. The resonator, dude. Yeah. I love that.
It's it's interesting, man. And singing, I say I have two fears in life: that I hate dancing in front of people and I hate singing in front of people. And when I was here in a band here in town. It's called Proud Pete. It's affiliated with NMSU. Shout out to them. When I was with them, I had there was a couple times where I had to actually sing, because we had a couple vocalists, but we would play long gigs, and so sometimes they just need a break. And so my professor was like, "All right, Paulo, you're up." And I had to go up there, and for a long time, I'd be sitting there like, just because I hated it, man. And I wasn't very good, and I wasn't confident with it. But my professor would make me do it. He would make me sit there and sing. And just after a little while, he was like, "Look, dude," he's like, "I know you hate this." He's like, "And I know that this is not what you want to do." He was like, "But you have to sell this like you love this. Like this is your favorite thing in the whole world." And I really hated doing that because I don't like getting outside of my comfort zone, But I would do it. And at some of those performances, then like people would be like, "Man, you sound great" and stuff. And, and I'm just sitting there like, "Oh man, I'm just faking all this," But it was interesting to see like, me kind of overcoming in some ways that fear. And now, like in some of the other bands that I play in, like if they were to ask me to sing, hopefully they're not going to ask me to sing something really hard. Hopefully this is some little simple song, but but now I have the confidence that I could do it.
Yeah. That reminds me of a quote from Mike Tyson. He says, "Discipline is doing what you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it."
Gosh, isn't that such a great saying? Gosh.
Oh yeah, it's a powerful one. Doing what you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it.
Man. And honestly, when I was going through my fitness journey, for a long time I really hated doing it.
I can believe it.
You just
everything hurt.
Yeah, everything hurts. You have very little energy because you just you're not eating like you were, and you like your body's just kind of like confused. Like it's like what's going on here? Like I don't understand. Yeah, and so when I was starting to actually make some really good progress, especially kind of leading up to my surgery, I actually got pretty close to my goal. My goal was to get a 6-pack. And I had gotten pretty close to that goal kind of leading up to my major surgery. And in the last like 6 months leading up to that surgery, my pain was like, it was like unbelievable, man. I would get up in the morning and it would take me about 15 minutes to roll out of bed because just me doing, a simple rolling motion was like just excruciating.
Oh gosh.
And I would sometimes have to just lay there like with like my knees on the floor, like laying over my bed, and I'd just be like biting my knuckle or something, just trying not to cry, you know. And then leading into the surgery, there was one day where I'd woken up very early in the morning and I had to use the restroom, and I'd rolled and I was sitting there at the edge of my bed and I was just like, almost in tears. And then I put my left leg down to step and there was just nothing. It just completely gave out. And then I was laying on the floor. At the time I was living in a trailer and about like 15 miles outside of Las Cruces with a lady who was a part of my extended family. And I just couldn't take it, and I was just sitting there on the ground, just like bawling at like 5 a.m. And I just said, "Fuck this!" And I called my mom and I said, "I'm going to the ER. I can't do this anymore." And so I ended up going to the ER, and I get in and I'm like, "You have to take an MRI, like you have to, because I can't do this." And so then they pull me in to do an MRI. They had to make me lay flat on like the little like
bed.
Yeah, on the little bed thing, which was very, very painful for me because I can't do that naturally. And, for MRIs, like you have to sit in there for like 10 minutes while they, take those images. Oh yeah. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like grinding my teeth, just trying to just not lose it, And then I remember I got out, I was sitting in the waiting room and they were like, they're like, "Yeah, you're in a lot of pain. You want some morphine?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I want some morphine." So then they did that. And then I kind of calmed down because I was very just like, I was just trying to console myself and not lose my crap. And so as I was sitting there after they gave me the morphine, I'm kind of calm, I'm just sitting there. And all these nurses are walking by my room and they keep looking at me. And I was like, this is really weird. Like, I don't understand why they're looking at me. And then I'll never forget this. This one guy, he walks right by and he just looks at me and he just goes, "Your MRI is terrible, man." And I just started laughing because I was on morphine. So, I was a little geeked up, but he was like, "You need to get that looked at now." And then he just walks away. And then finally the neurosurgeon comes in and he's like, he shows me the MRI. He shows me, he's like, "This is literally cutting through your spine." And he was like, "This is one of the worst I've ever seen, like in my life." He was like, "You only see kind of things like this in like really bad freak accidents or like car accidents."
Wow.
And he told me, he was like, "It is nothing short of a miracle that you're standing here." And he was like, "How long have you been dealing with this?" And I was like, 5.5 years. And he was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "What have you been doing all that time?" I was like, well, at that point I was down about 80 pounds. And so I was like, "I don't know, man, just, I've been losing some weight." He was like, "And you did that?" He was like, "With this injury?" I was like, "Man, same shit, different day," like, like at that point I just was like, this is my life now. So I just have to learn how to live with this debilitating injury. And so he was like, "That is nothing more than a miracle." And he told me, he was like, "You should be writhing on the ground in agony." He was like, "And the fact that you're sitting here somewhat calmly," he was like, "is nothing short of a miracle."
Wow.
And that's when it kind of really got put into perspective, like, wow, like that's how crazy of a journey that this really was. And I mean, and I think it's impressive that I lost 100 pounds, but losing 100 pounds when you're, running at 5 a.m, and every single step that you take, you feel a full blown jolt all the way from the bottom of your foot, all the way up through your neck. every day.
Man, talk about discipline.
Man, it was hard, man.
I believe that, bro.
Yeah. So I went in for surgery because he was like, no, he's like, this, you need to take care of this now.
That day?
That day.
Oh, wow.
That day. So they got together emergency surgery. I called my mom. She at the time I was living here in Cruces and she lived in Albuquerque. It was a Friday and it was like a long weekend. So she was like, okay, she was like, I'll drive down. I should hopefully be there by the time you get out of surgery. I was like, okay. I go in for surgery. They told me it was only going to be about an hour. 5.5 hours later, I get out of surgery. What they had done, because when they cut me open, they said that they were like, dude, the disc was everywhere. Oh. They're like, the whole thing just
exploded.
Just the whole thing was completely exploded. So they had to clean it up because it was all around, like, just my whole area of my back. And then they had to, scrape out the inside too and get the rest of it out. It was my L4, L5 disc, which is one that is specifically, I know that specific one, I think affects especially your legs and your hips, and especially your, it also affects your, it also affects like your bladder too. And that's one thing that's kind of a weird thing. Like after the surgery, when I got out, I was there in the hospital. They had to give me a catheter, which was, that's horrible. Never. I hope you never ever have to go through that.
I hope so too,
dude. That's so painful. It's
just thinking about it gives me the shivers.
Oh yeah. So I remember because they hadn't expected me to be in surgery that long. And so when I finally kind of came to, like, I was still super loopy because they put me under a lot, because they're messing with the spine. So they have to make sure you're under enough so that you don't wake up.
Yeah.
And when I was there, they took a scan of my bladder. They're like, yeah, dude, you're about to pop. Like, we need you to go pee. But I had been under so much, I couldn't contract my muscles to make me go pee.
Yeah.
And I'm still super loopy at this time, so I don't really know what's going on. And then the nurse had told my mom to start talking to me. And so then my mom's just like, oh, hey, son. I'm like, oh, hey, mom, how's it going? Because I'm still, I don't know what's going on. And then I remember my ex and her mom were there, not in the room, but they were outside the room. And they said, man, they're like, we were just sitting outside, and then we just heard you scream bloody murder, like just from outside. We just heard, ah! And so they did that. That was horrible. And then they, they take it out and everything. And they're like, okay, well, we'll be back to check in another 6 hours. They're like, hopefully we don't have to do it again. And I remember I grabbed my mom. I was like, I don't care what happens. I was like, that's never happening again. I don't care if you have to pull me out of this place. I was like, I'm not doing that again. And so I stayed the night in the hospital. And then after I got out, I went back and I was living in the trailer for a while with this lady, and I was out of work for about 3 months, where I was just pretty much laying in bed, And at that point, I mean, it was such a weird mix of emotions to where when you're in that much pain all of the time, I don't think you realize how much it affects your mental state. And it can definitely affect your personality.
Yeah.
During that time, like I was just very ruthless in terms of just how I would deal with people. Because at that point, when I was going through a lot of, this weight loss and stuff, I had also lost a large amount of my friends at the time. And a lot of that was because of poor decisions I had made. And, that was at a point where I really just needed some help. I was really just doing this whole thing alone, and I knew it was my fault because I had treated people very poorly. And I was not a good friend to my friends, and I definitely paid the price for that, but I think
you were like agitated all the time.
Very much so. And like, if people would give very stupid excuses for things, it would really irritate me. Like if people would be like, oh, but I want hot Cheetos, or like, or just like very stupid things, you know, like very like first world kind of things.
Yeah.
And it would make me so upset because I'm like, dude, I'm going through all this and you're sitting here complaining about, you know, somebody's like, oh, don't get the hot Cheetos and they're throwing a fit over it, you know, like
triggers.
It's just very, it was just it's very hard to like be a sane, normal person in that kind of a situation, you know?
For sure, bro. I didn't know that you went through this injury during this transformation, bro. That is insane. And that's even more of a testimony right there. So what's your excuse? Yeah, that's hardcore, man.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah. And at that time, when I was kind of going through that, I would look at people very differently than I had kind of ever looked at people before. And that's just really like when my whole world was really just starting to kind of unravel, you know, like in front of my eyes. Like I just, you know, there were so many things, especially, you know, with COVID and then with, you know, the whole 2020 presidential election and just kind of all these different things that were just building, you know, so much just like it's just such little faith in anything, you know, like you just had no faith in anything. You're just like, this is not going to get better. America's not getting better. I'm not getting better, you know. And I think for me to go through this transformation the way that it happened, you know, with me being very isolated, I think it was God pulling me away, and I think he was setting me up for whatever he's got coming for me next, man.
The blessing in disguise.
Oh yeah. And that's why I loved when you said that, because, you know, like I think about that injury, and I think about, you know, how difficult those few years really were. And I don't mind suffering. Because I've suffered a lot in my life, but I just want it to be worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And especially when you're in the middle of it, you just don't know if it's really worth it.
Yeah.
Because you don't have it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I'm telling every single one of you out there, you have so much more power than you think you do. And you need to stop giving yourself these excuses and this bullshit that you're feeding yourself, because you are so much more capable than anything you have any idea about. You really do. And me going through this really horrible experience has changed me profoundly, and I'll never be the same. And I think from this transformation, I think is where not only did I start learning more about my health and how I feel and stuff, but then I start looking at everything else, and I just start really reevaluating, like, man, what do I think, you know, about any topic? What do I think about politics? What do I think about, you know, how I want my family to be run? You know, how do I think about any of these things? You know, because when you start to change yourself, then you start to realize, like, man, maybe I could be that change, not only for me, but for others.
Yeah.
You know?
How else did it change you? Like some specifics.
Yeah. More specifically now, I think what it's shown me is that my process of going through this whole transformation and this whole ordeal was a very personal thing. And I think that God had specifically isolated me in these situations because I think that he was building me up for something. And I don't really know exactly what yet, but I think one of the biggest things that it changed for me is now my approach and how I want to help people.
Yeah.
When I was in the middle of this transformation, I was very, very harsh with people, especially if they, you know, didn't care about their physique or these different things. And I'd just be like, well, it's because you're a fucking loser, you know, or you're whatever, you know. Yeah. Because at that point, I'm like, well, look, if I did all this stuff with all these horribly debilitating things and you have a normal back,
yeah,
you know, like, I don't feel a lot of sympathy or empathy for you. I really don't, you know. And that's how I looked at that at that time. And now being on the other side of this, the lessons I had to learn through that whole ordeal, it really showed me that that's maybe how I internalized it, but that's not how I think other people should internalize it. Mm. And I know from how painful this experience was, and it wasn't just painful just because of this, it was painful because, like, there's a funny picture of me after one of our concerts that we did. And it's a picture of me where I'm standing up straight, but I'm like slanted like this. And it's very noticeable. And like my friends, they would joke around with me a lot. Like they would send me like graphs of like different things that looked a lot like it,
Of course.
And they would joke around with me. And they would say things like, like talk to me when you can stand up straight and, things like that.
That's what friends are for.
And, and at the time, and it was funny, and I laughed along because it helped, just kind of, it kind of helps sober up the moment, I guess, a little bit.
But it's still a jab.
Yeah, no, but it's still, because then you go home and like I said, I'm like, man, I'm 20 years old. I can't even stand up straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And me, I think living through that horrible experience, and me, I think seeing just that when it's just, I think it's me seeing that like I went through this in such a brutal way that I don't want other people to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
And sure. I don't wish that pain on anyone, man, because it was so debilitating, and I didn't even realize how much it changed my personality until I literally got up the next morning after my surgery, and I stood up. I stood up with a walker, and I just started crying because I just was like, I can't believe people walk around like this. Mm-hmm.
The next day you felt the relief.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a sobering moment that was.
Mm.
And ever since that day, man, ever since that happened, I just knew. I was like, dude, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
It was God.
No doubt.
There's no way just some, just some kid like me could just tough it out and just, I'll suck it up, Mm-hmm. And I thought that I was, but like it was all God. It was all God the whole time.
No doubt.
And I think that's what's helped now build my faith, and where I really realize like, man, I need God. I need God way more than I even realize.
Hey, and you said you wouldn't wish that upon anybody, and of course not, but look who it's shaped you into. And there's this chapter in the Bible, James chapter 1. And that is one that helped me get through my tough times as well. And essentially it says the trials and tribulations that you're facing is what's going to shape you into who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And without it, we wouldn't be who we are today. Mm-hmm. Without my son, I wouldn't be half the person I am today.
Yeah, man.
Without that injury, I know you wouldn't be who you are right now.
Yeah, man.
So sometimes these horrible things in our lives, it's a gift from God. And I know it doesn't seem like it in the time, in the moment. It seems like this is horrible. Like life, what is this? Like, why me?
Right.
Why me? This is why.
Yeah.
This is why. And you don't know it at the time, but just keep fighting, keep pushing through it, and you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is God's plan, and he sent you this for a reason. And it's to make you stronger.
Indeed. And now that I have some of that strength, I think that I see not necessarily how maybe strong I am, but I also just see how much help people need.
Yeah.
Like you really start to see just how just broken everybody is.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is just very broken.
You had a hurt back. I had a kid at 15, but it's like no one else is experiencing this pain that I am, but everyone has their own pain that is the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Yeah.
And it may not be exactly the same, but it might feel the same.
It might. And I don't know. I guess, one day when we all get up to, when we all get up to heaven, I don't know, maybe we'll be able to ask each other, like, man, is this what that felt like?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. But it's really helped encourage me to not be so hard-headed and to not be so harsh with people.
Yeah. See, we don't know what they're going through.
No. And I also started realizing, like, I started to ask myself, so why am I so hard on other people? And it's really, I think a lot of it would just came from, because when I was in that situation, like, if I would have given myself maybe more, not grace, but like if I would have let myself have more leniency, I definitely would not have made the progress I made.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I've had to realize that with my clients as well, is like, this is what you got to do. This is how you do it. But not everyone has the same amount of discipline. And I've had to learn how to tailor it for each person's different level of discipline. Yeah. And that has been a challenge as well, because it's like, well, why can't I do this all day, every day? Why can't you do it? Hey, dummy. It's like, not everyone has gone through it the same way you have. So, yeah, that is definitely an eye-opening experience.
Yeah. And so, because of that, now I really want to be I want to help people in the way that I wasn't helped,
Yeah.
And I think that, because I think that this is one of, like, I think one of, like, the very basics of, just, I think, being a human. And I think, the fact that we get it so wrong, most of the time is, I think that just kind of shows, how fundamental a lot of us need to kind of start with the different changes in our lives.
Yeah.
You got to go back to basics. When I was studying music at NMSU, I used to do like an hour warm up every single morning of just fundamentals every single day. And when you focus on those fundamentals every single day, man, not only is like the things that you're trying to work on get better, but just everything else gets completely better too, in some direct or indirect way.
Yeah. Those fundamentals are boring, though.
Man, they certainly are. Oh, my goodness. It's one of my things I actually struggle with. I hate practicing, because especially when I'm practicing music, like, you sound like crap. Like, even if you're a very good musician, like, if I'm just reading some new chart for whatever gig I have that weekend or something, like, you're playing through practicing, like, you generally don't sound that great, until you really lock it in. You spend 30 minutes on, like, whatever, and then it gets really good. But, sometimes those practice sessions, man, I've almost thrown a trumpet through a couple of different walls. So
yeah. That's great, man. Such a powerful story. And I'm sure that's going to resonate with some people and inspire them to lock in and go even harder. You want to transition to another topic?
Of course, brother. Let's do it.
What next?
Why don't we talk about America?
Let's do it.
What's going on in America right now?
What is going on in America?
Man, there's some real, it's really, really crazy what's happening in America, especially culturally and politically. And it almost feels like culture and politics are almost like one now.
Yep.
It's that ingrained within people, no matter what side you're on. For me, there's something that's also really happening, especially with, and I don't know if it's so much in maybe older generations, but especially in the younger generations, we are seeing big divides, not only politically, but also between the genders. Like, we are seeing, especially young girls, we are seeing them going very hyper liberal, and we are seeing especially men going all very hyper conservative. Yeah. And that's,
besides the soy boys,
right? Yeah, they're locked in. But no, man, it's really, it's kind of crazy to see these things happening. You know, I think especially from my parents' generation, my parents were, I think it's Gen X. They were like, my parents were born in the 60s. And, you know, that's especially when you see a lot of, you know, these cultural movements of, you know, feminism and, you know, and all these different kind of social, I guess, networks. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like you see feminism especially taken very seriously here, like in America, and especially in other first world Western nations. And I think it's just one of the biggest things because it just completely incentivizes men to not try at all and to not kind of give a crap about their life, you know?
How so?
I think it's just that when I was talking earlier about like, I don't mind suffering as long as it has a good payoff. I think with feminism, I think that we're seeing, especially my generation, that it has not paid off for the previous one or two generations. And I think that's especially why now, you know, the later millennials and a lot of now Gen Z are really not wanting to conform to this feminism because we've seen how detrimental it's been to not only women, but also to men.
Oh, yeah. I think it's one of the most damaging things that's happened to society. Mm-hmm. Feminism. And we can talk about where it came from, but the reality is it's destroying the family nucleus.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing that keeps us united. Mm-hmm. And when you destroy the family nucleus, you destroy the unity.
Yeah.
And I think that's happened by design.
Yeah. And I mean, and you can definitely see it now because like men aren't willing now to compromise with women, and women really are not wanting to compromise with men.
Yeah.
And we're kind of stuck at this stalemate where we're really like, we're kind of waiting for somebody to make the first move. You know, we're kind of just waiting for, okay, well, who's going to step up or who's going to get maybe the slightly shorter end of the stick.
Yeah.
You know, and I've even talked to one of my friends about this because we were talking about how I told him in about probably 15, 20 years, there's going to be a very large segment of the first world nations that are going to have unmarried women with no children. There's going to be a vast majority of those women, and they're going to be especially probably in their 40s and 50s. And in some ways I think that those women are going to be very, just in general, I think bitter and upset just about how maybe their life has gone up to that point. And
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's because they've been lied to by the feminist movement. And they've been told you need to go chase a career first before you settle down and make a family. And it's hyper-masculinized our women. And of course, a lot of men have been feminized, but we still have some masculine men. Mm-hmm. And those are usually the men that the women want. Mm-hmm. And you have a masculine woman and a masculine man, they're going to clash.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're looking for, but that's all our options are, is these women that have been hyper-masculinized. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is women's true superpower is in their femininity. And
amen.
They are told not to embrace that.
It's really crazy to me because I think one of the things that I think men can do that women can't do is use force.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty about what makes women so amazing is they don't have to use force. Mm. You know? And
what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? I mean that, not to make this like toxic or anything, but I think within...
Don't use that word. That's a feminism word.
No, but not to be... I don't know. I think that if you are a a man, and I think if your woman comes to you, and I think if she does things in a very, if she maybe she wants something from you or something, or she wants you to maybe go take her someplace or something, I think that any girl can get that done. No, I think no matter what, I think girls can do that. I think where girls are getting very confused is that they think that they have to use force like men, and the beauty about women is that they don't. They don't have to use force. They can use their softness. They can use their kindness. They can, they can use this softer feminine side of them to get things in the same way that, that men have to use force. Like, I mean, if you think about like kings, back in the day, a lot of them had a queen, and a lot, especially like in the Bible, there's different stories of kings doing very eccentric things for their queen. Yeah. And she can't force them to do it.
Right.
So how is she doing it? Well, she's not forcing them. She's using her femininity to get those things, to get whatever things that she wants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the beauty of women, is that they don't have to do those things. Us men, we have to go out and we have to go get things. And we, and the thing is that when you go and get that, all the other guys are there trying to get that exact same thing.
Oh, yeah. It's a competition.
Yeah.
We're all at war with each other.
Oh, yes. And so I think because of that, I think women have been told you need to use force like men.
Oh, yeah.
And one, they just can't. But two, because of it, we just run into all these problems where, where now the women are, like you said, they're more masculine and the men are far more feminine. And so now we have this weird, these weird relationships, that are, that's like, it's like a girl best friend, with her homosexual boyfriend, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. But that's progressivism, bro.
Oh,
We're advancing society.
Oh, are we now? I wonder who's purporting that lie.
Uh-huh. Yeah. If you go deep down the rabbit hole, you come to find out feminism wasn't started by women. Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting.
And that's, that's the interesting thing. And what's interesting too is I think also when you put women in charge, I think that, especially as men, I think we all subtly know that she's really not in control and it's men. You know?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways that's, I think men are designed to be able to kind of detect things like that women maybe aren't able to tap into so easily.
I do believe that's true in most cases, but I think my grandma would disagree.
Oh, dude, grandma's built different, man.
She's the CEO of 2 companies, and she is the epitome of the feminist movement.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm not in a bad way.
Uh-huh.
Like, I am super proud of my grandma, and she's an inspiration to me. Big time. Mm-hmm. But I've seen how it can be a good thing. Uh-huh. But it did happen in the right way, I believe. Mm-hmm. She had her family first.
Okay.
And then she went and did all those things after a divorce.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's way more powerful than chasing the career first, because the reality is women have a timer.
Yeah.
They have a timer, and you go chase your career first, which is what they're told to do, and then settle down later. They're psychologically changed completely different. Like, you have to have this completely different mindset to go chase a career versus building a family. And to shift back, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, of course, there's cases where it works and it's beautiful, but in general, that's a really hard transition to make, to go from that masculine mindset, I got to go get my career, and then switch back to being a mom.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happen very often.
You don't. And to be honest, I don't think a whole lot of women necessarily want to have like that kind of a life, maybe where they have like maybe the family and then maybe they start a company or something. I think that some women definitely can and definitely should do it. But I think just for the majority of women, I think I even find it hard how they even psyoped women into doing that. Cause like, I think like, dude, if I was a woman, Like if I was an 18-year-old woman right now, like what would I do? Honestly, if I was an 18-year-old woman, I would probably live at home with my folks. I might get like some little part-time job doing some retail or some whatever. And, so to have a little bit of money. But then, I'm at home, I'm, helping my folks, I'm helping them clean the house, maybe I'm making them dinner, or whatever, and I would really, just try to actively look for a husband. Like if I was a girl and I was 18, I in a lot of ways, I don't even really know how they actually like psyop these girls into believing this. To me, it's really crazy.
Well, it might be all the movies, TV shows, media. It's been programmed. It's been programmed subtly and not so subtly.
Yes, 100%.
So yeah, being a stay-home mom is oppressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Like, where's your freedom?
Yeah,
like,
I hate it.
Yeah. So, which is sad because I had a stay-home mom, and it was the most beautiful thing ever. I mean, I'm so grateful for my childhood. It was the best way to grow up, and that's what I want for my kids. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big factors that led me to leave my son's mom is she wanted to chase a career. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a stay-home mom to build a family like I was raised in.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a doctor now doing great, but that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's been a challenge to find that. And due to this psyop that's convinced women that that's what they're supposed to do. And man, it has destroyed the economy. Let's talk about that, dude. Women entering the workforce. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't afford a nice home without a 2-family income.
It's not even possible.
Unless you're a top 1% man. Mm-hmm. And that's by design. Yeah. Because now the woman has to go to work and the man has to go to work in order to afford the house. Mm-hmm. Who raises the kids?
The schools do.
Exactly. The government.
Big
the programming. The programming, turning our kids into sheep, which is what school is designed to do. It was designed by the Rockefellers to create employees.
Indeed. And he even, Rockefeller himself, he even said that. He said, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers.
Yeah.
And
you think his kids went to public school?
Heck no.
Yeah. So it irks me that my son's at school right now and I hear the bullshit that he goes through. And I'm like, because I went through it. Mm-hmm. And I know school's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke.
Dude. You know what's even crazier? Because you were talking about having a stay-home mom. I actually also, when I was younger, my mom was stay-home. And I have 4 siblings. I have 3 sisters, and then I have a brother. And when I was growing up, my mom actually homeschooled me for elementary school.
Wow.
And
how was that?
Dude, I did not realize, and I didn't even really realize this until I got a lot older, that school is just a mush of nothing.
Yep.
That's really what it is. Like I think about like back then, I'm like, man, I went to school for so long, for so much of my life. Do I use any of it? Any of it? Ever? No. So it's like, well, then why am I there?
But education is so important, Apollo. You need your education.
Of course it is.
You got to be an educated individual.
Man, I hate that horse shit, man.
Bro.
It's so bad. And I think the reason why I see it a little bit more is because when I was getting homeschooled, my mom would spend a lot of specialized time with each of us, but she would also teach us how to think, and she would teach you how to question.
That right there is so important.
Yes.
Because that's the opposite of what school does.
Yes.
It teaches you not to think. Mm-hmm. It teaches you to memorize and do what you're told.
And here's your schedule, and you better have your homework done, otherwise you're failing, and we're holding you back, and and all this stuff. And I really just look at school now like it's just such a.
And this is how you end up with COVID, with people walking around with masks and wearing masks in vehicles.
Like a dumbass.
Because they were not trained to think.
Indeed. Did you get the jab? No.
No.
I did, and it's probably one of the biggest regrets of my life.
Man. How did it happen? So I've got a good story about it as well.
Yeah. All right. I can't wait to hear yours. When I was in college, like I was telling you earlier, like during COVID, none of us had jobs. And even if you had maybe like parents who
this is
had
already
some
pissing
money,
me off.
I know. And even if you had parents who had money who could give it to their kids, they even weren't giving their kids money because they were all scared about, their 401ks and all that.
Yeah.
And so I had gotten an offer to be like to help out with a marching band program here in Las Cruces. And I really, really needed some money because I was so unbelievably broke. And I sometimes I couldn't afford food. I couldn't afford gas. I'd have to walk everywhere or catch rides or just do whatever. And so I really needed just something. And they told me, they were like, you have to get this. And I was sitting there and I was like, look, I've already had it. Like, I have the antibodies. I don't need this shit. And they just told me, they're like, well, look, if you don't get it, you can't work here. And I was like, even if I wear a mask? They're like, even if you wear a mask, you can't do it. And I was sitting there and I remember I called my mom and I just was like, Mom, I know this is wrong. And I know that this is but I don't know what else to do. I was like, there's no other jobs. Like none of us had any jobs. And I was like, and I have to take something. I was like, because I can't make it if I don't take this. And it really, I mean, I don't know exactly everything that they put in there, man.
Yeah.
But I have not felt the same since. Yeah. I have not felt the same.
Wow.
And it is truly one of the biggest regrets that I have in my life. It makes me more angry than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand because I was in a very similar scenario. 2020, I was in school, senior year. So I graduated during COVID, so didn't walk or anything. Whatever. Went to my first job out in Dallas. And it wasn't too crazy at first. I mean, you just had to wear your mask. They had like mask police would walk around checking your workstation, making sure you had your mask on.
Crazy. Dude.
Insane, bro. So, of course, I would leave my nose out, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, just to get by. But then the vaccine mandates came out. And now it was get your vaccine or you're fired.
Jeez.
So this is my first job out of college. I'm there. Things are going good. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. Yeah. There's no way. I had a gut feeling about it right off the bat. So I was like, and then I started doing some research and I got to Alex Jones and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely not getting that.
Yeah.
And so I got like a religious exemption from my priest. That worked for like 4 months. And then they're like, all right, it doesn't matter. Any exemptions, get the vaccine or you're gone. And it was me and one other employee. And I was like, you know what? He was actually my mentor. I was like, bro, I ain't getting it. He's like, me either. He's like, if they fire us, they fire us. Oh, well. It's like, all right, let's do it. 2 or 3 months come around. And they're like, we're going to fire you if you don't get your vaccine. The next month, they're like, just kidding. They didn't end up firing us. But here's what pisses me off is they scared so many people into getting it because they were scared of losing their job. And that pisses me off. But here, it was actually eye-opening for me because it made me realize, hey, this job is not a part of my identity. It's like, fuck this job. If they're going to try to force me to take something that I don't want to do, that I know is bad for me, this means nothing to me. This has no attachment to me. Yeah. And that was liberating.
Yeah.
Because now I have a totally different relationship with my job, because before it was like, I'm an engineer, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, this is a means of income.
Yeah. And man, if that was, I think for me, that was like a really big wake up call for what was happening in the world.
Oh yeah. I think for many,
yeah.
the programming, the psyops, it woke up a lot of people. Now, whether they took it or not, I mean, it's like, okay, there's some fucked up shit going on.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what's actually interesting? I know we were talking about Tate a little bit earlier. He actually talked about how he started his school specifically because of the vaccine, and because he said that there were so many men that were coming to him and saying, like, you know, like, I don't want to get the vax, but I have to pay for my family.
Wow.
I can't, you know, I can't throw this all away for them. You know, like I have to provide. And he said at that moment, he was like, I just knew that, like, he had to do something to get people to be able to make money in a way to where we don't have to be sucked into a corporation, or we don't have to do this horse shit of, you know, of having to take these vaccines and do all this crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. And I've seen quite a few testimonies from people that have gone through Hustlers University and have developed a source of income where they're independent. And I think that's truly beautiful. And I think Tate gets a bad rap. Obviously, he's attacking the Matrix, so he's going to get a bad rap. But even some people that are aware of the Matrix, some of my friends are like, he's not all that. I mean, of course, I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he played a very pivotal role in modern society. And he inspired people to stand up for themselves and speak the truth. Because before him, there was only one person doing it, and it was Kanye West. And everyone just checked him off because he was crazy.
Yeah.
So he opened up the gates and showed, hey, I can speak the truth. You can try to cancel me, and I'm still here, and I'm still speaking. And since then, many more people have started to open their voices and speak out against the Matrix. And I think, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, bro, you're giving him too much credit. I'm like, bro, I truly believe he opened up the floodgates. I mean, Joe Rogan obviously has made a huge impact, but he's never said a thing about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
About the Jews.
Yeah. Well,
so
did you see that, there was, Rogan actually had Theo Vaughn on recently.
Really?
Yeah. And
Theo's popping off.
Dude, Theo, no, he goes, he was like, how long, he's like, how long do you think Israel's going to let us last? And Joe
just starts laughing.
Dude, and Joe goes, he's like, what are you saying right now?
So yeah, of course he knows. Of course he knows.
Yeah.
But he won't speak on it. So that's one thing where I'm like, I love Joe. He's opened my eyes to many things, but he will never go there. I don't know if he will in the future, because I mean, he has come to Christ, it seems like, which has been very beautiful. But he's being calculated in that department, I think.
I think he is. And I think the reason why he's being calculated, I think, is especially because another really large wake-up moment, especially now, and I think that we are seeing a wake-up, I think, greater than even when Tate did, is especially this Charlie Kirk assassination.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, and the thing, like, I saw that within like 3 or 4 minutes of that event happening, and just, wow, man. I mean, it was so violent, and it was so just vivid, and it was so public too, that I think for a lot of people, just started looking at that and being like, that's literally how quickly your life can be taken from you.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you brought that up, because, man, I've been talking to my uncle. He's far right.
Yeah.
And I've been telling him for like 3 or 4 years now, like, bro, it's the Zionists that are behind this. Yeah. And he's like, man, you're a Jew hater, just Zionists, this and that. I'm like, bro, I don't hate Jews. but there's a group of them that is influencing our country for the worst. They're the ones that sent in feminism. They're the ones destroying the family nucleus. They're the ones that hate Christians.
Yes.
They hate Christians. They hate Jesus Christ.
Viscerally.
And after the Charlie Kirk assassination, he's like, hey, Jerry, you might be right. I was like, all right, let's go, baby. Finally.
Dude.
Finally. So
man, do you also see what's going on with that whole trial? And they're trying to put they've put a gag order, like the largest I think ever in history, that nobody can talk about it. Like who was
what does
there?
That mean?
A gag order, it means that you cannot talk about what happened. So, and there's a gag order on every single person that was there that day.
Interesting.
Yeah. And supposedly the judge is also pushing to not have cameras in the courtroom.
I saw a clip on that.
Yeah.
There's so much sketchy stuff with there. It's like, the only thing that made me a little hesitant was Nick Fuentes said it wasn't the Jews.
Yeah.
So that made me, I was like, oh, interesting. But before that, Charlie was a Zionist, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know until after the assassination, these clips started coming out of right before the assassination.
Yeah.
He starts calling out Israel and like, hey, maybe something is going on here. Mm-hmm. And then pop.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh, okay. So maybe he wasn't a full Zionist. Well, I think he was a Zionist because the far right has been programmed. Well, the whole Republican Party has been programmed to be Zionists because all the Republicans are funded by Israel. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they're going to say that's our greatest ally and this and that. And Israel is God's chosen people, this and whatever. But Charlie bought into that. Mm-hmm. Whether he was paid to do it or he truly believed it, I don't know. But it seemed right before his life was taken that he started to wake up to the truth and speak out on the truth. And I think ultimately that's what got him killed.
100%. And actually, I think that might have got him killed. I also have a theory that I think they killed him as, I think, a warning to everybody else. I mean, they definitely did do that. But I think that they chose him specifically because he was the nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if you watch any of Charlie Kirk's videos, you know, from over the years, whenever he did any of his, you know, public speaking or public debate events, and he always was very calculated. He was always kind. He was generally not rude, and he was very he was just a genius.
He was sincere, and he was trying to hear people out and help them.
Yeah. And and I think because of that, like when he died, I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. I was like, I don't know why they wouldn't kill somebody like Nick Fuentes or kill someone like Andrew Tate instead.
Yeah.
Because I think that would get more so their message across.
Well, he was converting more people to Christianity than anybody on this planet.
I didn't think about that. I think you might be right there.
Yeah. I think he's converted more people to Christianity than any priest, any church, any living person on this planet.
Yeah.
And that is what they fear most.
Indeed. And it's really crazy to kind of see, you know, it's really weird to see how much grip the devil has on the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's, I saw a video recently where somebody was talking about how they're like, you know, I always thought of like the Satanists and, you know, like, you know, people in the Kabbalah and all that stuff. I thought that like they know that they're going to lose in the end, you know, like, because I don't see how like you sign up for something like that and, you know, and you don't know that you don't know that you're going to lose in the end. But in their minds, like Lucifer is God.
Yeah.
You know, like he is the, you know, he's the Almighty in their head. in their minds,
Yeah, I'm not sure how they feel about the afterlife, or if it's like they think this is all they got, so they might as well get as much as they can now, all the pleasures, because Satan will give you everything you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how they feel about that. I'm like, I don't know.
Do you think somebody maybe like Tate or Nick Fuentes would ever run for president here in the United States?
Oh, Fuentes for sure. For sure.
Man,
what do you think about the Graper movement?
It's I will say Twitter has been inundated because that is all that's on my feed now.
Yeah.
No,
I've had some discussions about this with some close friends as well, and some Republicans, they're like, I don't know about all that, but it's like, he's popular right now because he's going so extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that's so extreme is because we've gone so far in the other direction.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to pull us closer back to the center.
I think with Nick, I think that he definitely could be president. I mean, I know especially right now, a lot of the right, and especially
is divided.
Is very divided. And this is one of, I think, the big curses of the right, is the fact that when I think they get in power, they do a lot of infighting when they should be more focused towards a singular goal.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that this would happen because, we see especially now with how much the Republicans are especially just fragmenting, even just like Nick Fuentes now is, he's not on great terms with like Candace Owens,
Real quick. Mm-hmm. I think the problem is, you say once they get in power, well, all these guys, before they get in power, they're kissing the wall.
Yeah.
So they're owned before they even get there. And that's why I supported Trump, is because he wasn't a politician, and he promised he was going to go in there and drain the swamp.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out he's just like the rest of them, kiss the wall, bend the knee to Israel, and he married his wife off. He married his daughter off to Israel. So he's just like the rest of them. He's just sold his soul. Sold his soul. And that's where I see maybe Nick has a chance to be that guy that doesn't sell his soul. But I don't think you get there without selling your soul. And that's where I'm like, Kanye 2028? Who else, bro? Who else?
Kanye 2020. Man.
Everyone else is bought and sold.
That's the arc right there, man, isn't it?
I mean, that's what we need.
No, 100%. And I think, and obviously they're doing this on purpose. And it's because I think they are trying to funnel America into either a civil war amongst the parties, or just to where people have such little faith in the government to where there's going to be some big protest. There's going to be something. There's going to be, somebody's going to bring a bomb, or somebody's going to bring a gun or something, and there's going to be some kind of massacre or some horrible thing. That's going
to bring in laws that take more of our liberties and freedom.
Yeah.
And take us closer to communism.
Yeah. And the U.S. is really the final, if the U.S. falls, then it's over. And the thing is that, I have a couple different theories on kind of what I think is going to happen after America falls, because it will fall eventually. I know for myself that I've talked to my folks about how I'm like, look, as long as America is number one, I'm going to stay here in America.
Oh, yeah.
The second America is not number one anymore, this is going to become a very dangerous place.
Oh, yeah.
Very dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And, and so I think I told my parents, I have to start thinking about that, because
for our kids.
Yeah. I have to think, because I'm like, man, and no matter whoever takes power, afterwards, maybe it's a greater Israel, maybe it's some Muslim, state, or maybe, China comes in and kicks all of our asses. And I don't know how it's all gonna turn out, but I just know that once America falls, that that the West is going to be. I mean, the West is done. And
so hopefully we can prolong that.
Of course, I know that eventually it will eventually happen. I'm hoping that we can extend it past my lifetime.
Past our kids, hopefully.
Yeah, right. As much as we can get.
What do you think about Candace and Tucker? I hear a lot of people saying that they're controlled opposition.
I think Tucker could potentially be controlled opposition. I don't know, though.
I don't either.
Because
I like them both.
I know. I like Tucker, and I like a lot of the things he talks about. Candace, that one I don't really see as much, especially after what just came out recently with her. I don't know if you saw her Twitter post. It went super viral, like I think it was not even a week ago.
Is it the December event deal?
Yeah. Well, it was. She had gotten like message from somebody in French politics.
Saw that.
That
assassination
Macron,
attempt.
had sent French assassins along with supposedly Israeli assassins as well to go take her out. And what's really interesting is I was watching a little bit of her show the other day, and she was talking about how she had reached out to the White House, she had reached out to the FBI, she had reached out to several different of these big organizations, and she said the only one she ever heard back from was the White House. And she said, I told the FBI, look, I have, and supposedly she says she has evidence. She has evidence of emails or photos or whatever. And so I don't think that she would be controlled opposition, because I think that they hate her too much for her to be a controlled op without them being able to rein her in.
Okay.
Because if they had something on her, or they had, if they had some dirt on her, I think people, they generally don't want to assassinate you if they don't have to.
Right.
Usually they'll only assassinate you when they really feel like they don't have another choice.
Right.
So in that regard, I don't think Candace is controlled opposition. Tucker could possibly be controlled opposition, only because I know his dad has ties to the CIA, and he was not terribly forthcoming about that, especially early on in his career, which is a little concerning. Like I even hear people talk about Tate a little bit and how they think he's controlled opposition.
Seen that too.
And I think it's possible. I think if anybody, though,
it's a Matrix attack.
Yeah, right. But I'm like, well, who's the Matrix really attacking? Well, they keep attacking him, so I don't know if that would be in their best interest. But then in the same time, we look at like Trump, and I think especially in 2016, I think he wasn't controlled opposition. I think
agree.
he was just trying to survive with some big sharks, out there.
Yeah.
And I think Trump ultimately, when he started to take money, I think, he sat down with, the deep state or whoever.
Yeah.
And I think they made some kind of a deal.
Oh, for sure.
To where, because I mean, he still gets criticized in the media now, but it's not nearly as crazy as it was in 2016. Like, like he was in Time Magazine, like Twitter puts out his stuff like way, way more than you would ever see it,
Well, now he's Israel's best fan.
And what is it? I think Bibi's he's been here to the US, like 5 times already?
I don't even know. It's annoying to me.
Oh, man.
But, I did like that Candace and Tucker left Zionist organizations, Fox News, the Daily Wire, which those two organizations brainwashed so many Republicans, and that pisses me off. But they left those organizations, so that gave me hope. I was like, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Because I liked Tucker when he was with Fox, and then once he left Fox, I'm like,
and they're like, good for you, buddy.
You left BlackRock. So,
oh yeah.
And then Candace too. So I'm like, okay, I have hope in these guys. But then I see people saying it's controlled opposition. I don't know if they're just trying to make us hate them or what. But I don't know, man. Like you said, it's kind of hard to have hope. But here's why I do have hope. The Great Awakening is happening.
Yes.
Before our eyes. And I'm still a little concerned about it, because I know the Jews own all these platforms, and they're allowing these videos exposing them to go viral. So that's really fishy to me, because all they got to do is press a button and these videos don't get any reach. Or is it just that so many people are putting out these videos that they can't control it? I think that's unlikely.
I also think that that's unlikely. However, I agree with you. I do think that that's quite unlikely. But I think that going into the future, like, it's really cool to, I think it's so interesting to be alive in the time that we're alive now, because we have just seen the world completely change.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I can even just think back to like I remember when Trump first got elected. I remember I was a sophomore in high school. That even people started to wake up then, people were really starting to wake up to a lot of these things that were very like, oh, that's not real, the Jews or that's not a real thing, but now people are, it's because they have become so blatant with how much control they really have.
Oh yeah.
And they're just kind of shoving it in everybody's faces. And I don't know if part of that is maybe them being just very careless, or if that's more them like we have the total and complete power and there's nothing you guys can do about it. So haha.
Yeah. Yeah. Rose had an interesting take on that. She said, if we're talking biblically, they need the world to hate them in the end times. And
they certainly do, because, I don't know if you know much about like Albert Pike, or if you've heard that name.
So, yes, I have. Where have I heard that from? He
was a 33 degree Freemason.
I've heard Zerka talk about him.
Yeah. And he was alive back in the 1800s, but he wrote a book, and in his book he very clearly details 3 world wars that are specifically designed to bring in the one world government and the new world order.
Yeah.
And in that book, they talk about how World War III is going to be this giant battle. Basically, it's going to be like Armageddon between Israel and all of the Arab nations. And whatever outcome comes from that, whether both sides are just completely exhausted or one wins or whatever, they're just trying to, it's crazy that these things were talked about so long ago, and they've planned this out so methodically and meticulously, and we're all just here, just watching the ride happen.
Yeah.
Speaking
of world wars, what do you think about Hitler?
Man.
Might get you in trouble here.
Dude, jeez, man. I saw, especially in that interview with Rose, that you were talking about how...
Hey, don't put me on the spot.
How you were talking about...
I'm putting you on the spot.
Sorry. That I saw... No, I saw that when you were talking about the videos of...
the translated speeches.
The translated speeches, man. And I've listened to several of those now. And it's like, geez, were we really on the wrong side of this? And obviously, they didn't let us know that at the time. We thought we were doing the right thing. But, when you write history in such a way to where you make it so kind of black and white with this World War II
good
story.
Guys, bad guys.
Yeah. And there's no kind of nuance. There's no kind of anything, And when you start looking at history and you see that a lot of it is written like that, it makes you question a lot of things. Like I've been recently interested in this idea of, have you heard any of the theories on Tartaria?
Mm-mm.
No? So the theories on Tartaria is it's basically that there was another civilization kind of similar to America, not exactly the same, different technologies, different culture, that kind of stuff.
Like way back?
Back in like the 17 to 1800s.
Oh, okay.
And supposedly Tartaria was an empire that was most of Russia and then kind of leading into parts of Asia. And the idea of this is that this civilization was extremely advanced in ways that we definitely are not. For example, there's supposed they had a lot of these what they would call free energy machines, which works on a power system that we do definitely not know now today. But it kind of has to do with things like the ether, things like like wireless energy, being transported, across just through the air. And so when you start looking into things like that, where you start seeing photos and you see like maps from like the 1800s that have this country on there, and you're like, well, I've never heard of this ever in any kind of history, so then it makes you think like, man, how much of history is a lie? Not only maybe as recently as World War II, but like, who even knows about all this other crap? Who even knows where Ground Zero is?
Dude. There's this lady I follow on Instagram, and she's a conspiracy theorist. She's like a homesteader, and I love all her videos. They all make sense. She brought up this one conspiracy though that I was like, what? She said Jesus happened in America. Jesus' time happened in America. And I was like, what? And everyone was in the comments were like, what the heck? She's like, I'll do a podcast on it. So I'm going to check that out. But that one is wild.
I have heard some, I saw, I follow this Instagram reel that's called like CIA like things. And it's like different discoveries that have been declassified over the years. But they found actually here in New Mexico, they found like a tablet that has the original 10 commandments on it in Hebrew.
What?
In New Mexico.
All right, here we go. There it is.
Dude. And it is really interesting because I've heard, I've heard a little bit about this, that they're lying to us about,
history.
Yeah, that they're lying to us about history, but they're also like, like when you kind of learn that like the Zionists and the Jews of today are not actually the original, Jews of like the Bible,
right,
and stuff, then you kind of wonder like, man, well then of course, then maybe things did happen here in the US, and they were like, oh, just kidding, haha, it's over here.
Yeah.
And I think what makes me think a lot about that is that there's a lot of things here in the United States that we're not allowed to see. For example, I know that large sections of the Grand Canyon are completely cut off to the public, which seems kind of weird because you're like, well, we're just looking at this beautiful canyon. Like, what in the world could be there? And they've done like flyovers and stuff with like helicopters and stuff. And dude, there are some eerie looking objects within the rocks and stuff like there was this one image I saw where it looks very much like a sphinx.
Interesting.
And like you can see what appear to be pyramids and things like that.
What the heck?
Very interesting.
Yeah. Back to the history thing. I saw this quote. It said, if you control the present, you can write the past. And if you control the past, you control the future. So
that's deep.
American history is heavily influenced by the Jews.
Heavily.
Because they own everything. All the media, all the education systems, all the movies, everything we've learned about World War II, they've controlled. So we have this one-sided view of history. I'm really curious to see or hear what Germans think about Hitler.
I actually think in Germany, I think that it's like illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but I know that there's like a Holocaust like memorial every like half a mile.
Yeah.
In that country.
Makes sense. I mean, it's been conquered.
Yeah. I mean, really, really crazy.
But people are waking up.
They are, man. And it's honestly, it's part of the reason I really wanted to come and do this. I think because I saw in my life that I think God had given me gifts, and he had given me opportunities, and he gave me these lessons, through, my story that I've shared. And I think that he did that very intentionally because he wants me to be one of these voices that's going to start emerging for this younger generation. And honestly, especially after I got the jab, man, it really hit me that I was like, I can't escape this.
Yeah.
And
we got to fight.
Yeah, we have to fight. And I feel like it's my responsibility to fight, especially for the people who haven't really fought or haven't gotten in there yet.
Yeah.
And my job is to be one of these voices, I think, to pull people in to stop this insanity.
You're taking on a big enemy there, Chief.
Well, luckily for me, and I think that the devil does actually a very good job at this. I think that obviously he discourages us and he tricks us and he confuses us, but I think one of the devil's biggest weapons that he uses is that he convinces you that good is not out there.
For sure.
And the thing is that, they call him the great deceiver because it's a complete and utter lie. Because, we talk about these dark forces, and we talk about the evil one and how he's, using all these different systems and people and stuff to take over and, destroy the world. But I think often we forget that Satan's not God.
Oh, yeah.
That God's God. And God has already written everything that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And
Christ is king.
He is king. And even they say even the demons know that, and they tremble.
Oh, yeah.
The name of Jesus.
Amen. Let's end on that.
Well, brother, thank you so much for having me out here. I really enjoyed this.
It was an honor, brother. Any last final words?
I just really, really want to encourage every single person out there that God loves you. And it doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made, and it doesn't matter how much you have completely screwed up your life. God's not over with you, because he's not over with me. And I believe that 100%.
Amen, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.